Okay, so, Nardine, thank you for coming to catch up with me and agreeing to kind of be one of my beautiful pin-up girls that's what it is, that's so exciting.
Okay, wasn't prepared.
Yeah, you are, you're so prepared. For January, because I know you and I are going to be on stage together in Feb, but part of this is to allow people to kind of understand what on earth it is we get up to and why you hung out with me, because not everyone wants to hang out with me, which is fine. So we just want to know your story of why you did. So for the benefit of people who've never met you or I, how did we meet and why on earth did you decide that hanging out with me might be helpful?
We met at church. Yeah, so I think the very first time we came to the church was the first time I ever met you. And it was a big impression you left in a very small moment. So you had a word for my husband and I, and it was that we would be united, and you saw us walking together in the future. It's a word that we've clung to dearly, and you've really hung on to. And so from that moment we started attending the church that you're at, and I saw you as part of the worship team, and I saw you most Sundays, of course, but you weren't a person that could be easily ignored. The one thing, and I actually remember it was the women's conference, and I remember you having quite an outburst, and your outburst was regarding Christians in this stance, but people in particular who just go through life and go through the motions and everything's fine and everything's lovely, and you were literally cut it, anything false. You didn't use those words, but I remember it so clearly, and it was your passion, and you were just just get rid of it, get rid of anything that is false, that's not true, and you wanted to see reality, you wanted to see the real person underneath everything, and that really stuck with me. I don't know if I ever told you that. Yeah, but I remember you almost walked out because you were so you were just over it, because I think even we'd heard all these stories and some of them are amazing, but you wanted that realness. You wanted to get to the, like you say, to the heart of people. Yeah, I remember it really clearly.
That is so funny. Isn't it funny?
Do you remember?
No, I don't remember that at all. But I do remember, because the fire has never changed. The fire in my belly has never changed.
Yeah.
Is that for so many of us, and I was that person years ago, or not that long ago, going round and round the mountain, where everything on the surface was great. I had the big flash 4x4 car. We were doing all the horse stuff. We were doing all the sport. We had a beautiful home. Everything on the surface was amazing.
Yeah.
But I was dying on the inside, just going round and round in circles.
Yeah.
And because of my journey, and funny that me giving my life to Jesus and then my whole life turning around kind of was on the same path, and I had no idea that any of this was never on my agenda. But the fire I have in my belly now to see people who are struggling, who are broken, who are just it gets me so angry, because there's nothing wrong with anyone. They're all brilliant. But we don't always see it in ourselves. We're so busy trying to please everybody else. We're so busy trying to do what's right. We're so busy trying to do whatever it is that we think is going to make us happy. And we're as miserable as sin. And it's that's not how it's meant to be. Anyway, enough about me. So that's funny. That's really funny that you remember that. I'd completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So we hung up. You did see me a little bit at church. See all of this? Isn't it funny how we see life from different perspectives?
Yeah.
I just was rocking it, doing my own thing in my own little world, And then I remember actually we'd gone to Bible study a bit, and you said, I think I need to have a coffee with you. I want to ask you something. I want to, you came and you said, can I just ask you a question? You just wanted something. I don't know what it was. So what happened?
It was probably I think this was at the beginning of me trying to decide what I was going to do with my business, and Davis, my husband, really wanted me to get some advice from a Christian woman, and one that, to be honest, I guess that I admired. And I said to him, I was like, I want it to be Sally. And he goes, okay. And I think like my real deep-seated reason was your energy. And to me, like, you were vivacious and you were encouraging and uplifting, and I'm like, that's what I wanted, because I knew, when you see something in someone else and you're like, I want that, and I'm like, that's what I felt I was missing in life. So like you said, everything on the outside, it's good, it's great. Inside, I knew things were changing and I knew I wanted to go in a different direction. I didn't know how to get there. And so the advice I wanted was from someone who not was where I wanted to be, but had the energy that I wanted to have. And so that's why I chose you. Or God chose you for me. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
I love it, because I thought we were just going to catch up for a coffee.
Yeah.
And then I saw how much turmoil you were in yourself. Like, there was so much going on, and you were just like, I felt like you were almost like a rabbit in headlights. You were like, where do I start? Or where do I, how would you describe, for somebody who doesn't know you, and actually actually just tell everybody, what do you do? And who are you? So we haven't even introduced you, that's terrible. So who are you and what do you do, so that people can get a picture of what you were juggling at that point in time, and then where did you feel you were, because there's a difference between what you were doing and where you felt you were at that point in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Nardine and I'm married to Davis, and we've got 2 young boys. So Adai is 7 and Connor is 6. And we live here in Hawke's Bay in Hastings, and I run a retail clothing business, which I've had one of the stores. We're just currently celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Yay! Which is a milestone for business, so I don't take it lightly. I'm very proud of that achievement, and thankful that we've made it this far. So I started off my business with a business partner 10 years ago, and in the last, 2 years ago, I actually bought her out. So I've been running it solo for 2 years with a lot of support from my husband. And also a year ago, we went from having one retail store in Napier to expanding to a second one in Hastings, as well as an online business. So, so it's been amazing. Regardless of the trials with COVID and everything, I can only speak wonderful things for my business, and I'm very thankful for it. The people I have are phenomenal. Everyone always says to me, they're like, staff, and I'm like, my staff are like my absolute blessing, and I couldn't do it without them. To my detriment, I'm very independent, so I do like to do as much as I can by myself. I'm not a great delegator, so as much as I have a wonderful team, I do carry quite a lot myself. And I think when I came to you, it was probably realising I was at a point where I could do it, and God continued to give me the strength and the stamina to keep going. But as you noticed probably in our first meeting, beneath the surface, things weren't going so well. So everything was still running smoothly and well, but I would say the part that I was sacrificing was my family, supporting my husband, and then probably being there for my kids. And that's the part which probably was hurting me the most. I felt very fortunate that I could still be present for them in a lot of ways, but to be honest, if I'm going to say I was present, I wasn't really. Always on my phone, continually seeing where the business was at, or being the touch point for everyone else. I had a team. I do have a team of 7 who work under me, and I make myself really available for them. I make myself available for the customers, and I've created it that way because I do love them, but it's been quite demanding of me. Not always in a negative way, amazing positive experiences, but for me, I knew, and I'd known for a while, that my season was coming to an end, and I was, I'm not even going to say ready for a change, because I don't know if I am ready, but God was definitely putting the wheels in motion for me. I just didn't know what to do next, which is where you came in. So from our chat, you recommended doing the coaching with you, which was never why I came to you. But for me, from our conversation, I never felt pressured. I never felt that there was an agenda. But as soon as you talked about what you could offer, I was like, that's exactly what I need. And I didn't know I needed it. So it was just such a natural step for me. And the best step I could have taken. Yeah. Like my life literally changed from day one. In a hard way.
Breath.
Yeah. I think actually not realising how broken I was.
Yeah. But how wonderful that we got to catch up, because you could have stayed there, you know, and that's where you were and what you're feeling now. Get your attention. I do this. You know, where you were and where that was is where most people sit.
Yeah.
That, you know, your life on the surface, if somebody was to look at you today and look at you 3 or 4 months ago when we first met up, they wouldn't see any visible difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You're running an incredible business.
Yeah.
You've got an amazing marriage. You've got 2 beautiful children. You've been away for weekends. So for an outsider looking in, there doesn't appear to be any visible change.
Yeah.
Unless you know.
Yeah.
But, and you're right, like everything on the surface, everything in your life, why on earth were you not happy when you had everything? You got a business, you'd got dogs, you got everything you possibly wanted. Why on earth would anybody be miserable?
Yeah.
But this is how the world genuinely is.
Yeah.
We're all trying to prove ourselves. We're all trying to cover up whatever we think isn't of us, that we should be in somebody else's lane, that we should be doing this and we should be doing that. And all I saw was your beautiful heart, because you have an incredibly deep heart for people and for your family. And it was crying out. It was saying, oh, help! But it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't awful. It was just that's where you were. And you've obviously had a moment of just feeling that right now. So tell people, because that's where we start.
Yeah.
That's exactly where you started. Tell people where you are now, what you've been doing and what's happening, because you went from, oh my goodness, where do I go?
Yeah.
And what am I doing? And feeling so empty on the inside. Where are you now?
Firstly, in a much better place. Yeah. The biggest thing for me that I think I have, which I really didn't have before, even though I knew what I was doing, I knew what my business was about, and I knew I loved my family, and my faith was really strong. I didn't
get ourselves right, in right alignment with our values, with our priorities, with what's important to us uniquely, and understand how we think and process, which has been part of the journey.
Yeah.
So we understand who we are. And you said that, that sort of, you see the world differently. What is the difference? So, what is the difference for you now? What do you see now that you didn't see before? Because you're absolutely right. And Scott Benham says, if you change the way you see the world you see changes. Because actually you're in the same house with the same husband and the same family and the same business. So actually, nothing has changed. So what do you see differently? What is it that do you think has changed for you?
I probably see potential.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was limiting myself, what I was capable of, what I could do with my business, what I could do with my future. Like I was very much like, it is what it is. So when I talk about settling, I'm probably speaking for myself as well. Yeah. And because I was in that place and kind of putting a hold on it, that was, whether I knew it or not, that was putting those limitations on me, which were negative, and that was really getting into my head. Like, no, you can't prosper more than this. You can't have more time with your family. You can't do things with your husband. You've got work to do. You've just got to stay where you are, not move forward. Yeah, so I think for me it was breaking that away so I could move forward. You know, like you talked about how I realised what was really important to me. I didn't even know that. You know, like I would say, yeah, my family's so important, but I'm like, I didn't know that it was it was my paramount. So God created me to be who I am, and beneath that is to love my family. Whereas I'd let my business get in the way. And don't get me wrong, like it's so, it's something I still love dearly. Like I love business and I still get a real kick out of it, but I just got them in the wrong order. So,
and actually, just on that point, because it's just sprung into my head right now, how profitable has your business been since you sorted your, since you got yourself in alignment?
Yeah.
Has your business been better than it was? Have you managed, like all the, I remember some of the things, we're not going to share what they are, but I remember you were concerned about some things when we first coached, and then you told me, is your business now in a better space than it was when we started coaching?
For me, times are tough out there.
Yeah.
But for me, and it's interesting, like it's all to do with how I'm handling things. So for example, if a staffing issue comes up, not a problem. Whereas before, and I'm just realising the resilience I have, and I keep giving it over to God and then letting it go. And I think because of how I'm seeing the world now, and I'm seeing my business, just the things don't affect me the same way they did before. Even my husband said, he's like, man, like 3 months ago, you would have crumbled when this happened. Yeah. So, like, I feel the abundance because I'm not always going to the negative with it. I'm very aware of where I'm heading and where the business is heading and, what's going to happen there. Yeah.
And for the benefit of people here, what you don't know is there's going to be a new business launch in February that we may be able to just peek back the curtain and have a look at when Nardine and her amazing husband Davis come and share a little bit. So we're going to give people insider information on what it's like to start up your own business, what it's like to wrap up one business, say goodbye to one thing that served you so well for 10 years. And then to walk into the next season, walk into the new chapter and what that looks like. So Nardine, I thank you so much for coming and sitting in the hot chair, sitting in the hot seat and sharing today. And I really look forward to being on stage with you in February.
So do I. Thanks, Ella.